And welcome back to another episode of the Oner Podcast, the podcast where we break down and review films all in one big, long, unbroken take. I'm Austin Archer, and with me, as always, is my childhood next-door neighbor and lifelong best friend,
Kramer England.
I didn't know if you were going to do that or if you were going to say your name like one of the characters, like Kramer.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I've been debating on which one to do. If I should do
Austin.
that or if I should do Kramer. But I thought Kramer England, Mortal Kombat, same, syllables. So I thought that was good.
we are talking
better.
MK, Mortal Kombat with a K. Don't know why. Still don't
I
know
don't
why.
either.
Still don't know why the guys at Midway Games decided to spell it that way. When
I
they
think just
first
K
developed.
is more sword, like there's more sharp corners. I don't know.
Couldn't tell you. I guess
I
they just
couldn't either.
decided that that's how it's spelled in Outworld or
In
in
Outworld, yeah.
I don't know. But we are talking Mortal Kombat, not the 2021 film.
No.
We are talking 1995 with Robin Shue and Bridget Wilson and
Lyndon Ashby.
Lyndon Ashby.
Lyndon Ashby.
Oh, and Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa, a legendary actor.
I gotta say, man, I still really love him. I think he kind of gets what's going on.
No, yeah, he's a lot of fun in this movie.
He's overdoing it, and he knows he's overdoing it, which I love.
Christopher Lambert is also like chewing the scenery up, but Christopher Lambert is ridiculous in this movie.
He really is.
Every single scene with him, I'm like, no way. Why? I just can't. Like, the casting of Christopher Lambert in this role is baffling. It is every scene with him, I'm just like, how did they think this was a good idea? I just don't get it.
Well, they thought, I read this. They thought, oh, it's the guy from Highlander. Like, that's perfect, because they wanted Sean Connery or Danny Glover, which again, like, both, like, no, guys. Why?
Guys, he just from the hat alone, it's like he has to be Asian, you guys.
I know.
He has to be.
It's pretty obvious. Like, I don't get why. And they're like, so very interesting choices.
It's like if one of the characters in their original game design wore like a prayer shawl and had like little curls and like a yarmulke and like was like fully dressed up like a Hasidic Jewish man, and then they were just like, cast him with an Asian actor, and you'd be like, why? Like, what are you talking about? And the guy's name is like Shmuel or something. And they're like, for Shmuel we cast like Hiro Yamatama. It's like, what are you talking about, you guys? Like,
I know. Come on, just think about it. That was but the funny thing is, not really funny. This is not funny, but so much of that happened all throughout the 90s. Like, whitewashing was all over the place. And looking back, it's like, really?
It's just weird because Liu Kang is cast appropriately. Shang Tsung is cast appropriate. Liu's brother is cast appropriately. Jax, who is in this movie very little, is cast appropriately. It's just so weird that for Raiden, they were like, Christopher Lambert. It's like, but why, guys?
I know.
And you're right. That was very common. It's just strange. It's just very
strange.
Yeah.
I think they really thought like, oh, he's a recognizable face. That'll be good for it.
Yeah. And maybe they just thought that like the character of Lord Raiden has no established ethnicity, and like
they did say that. I read this thing and the producer was like, we couldn't really see his face, so we weren't thinking about race. And I was like, well,
even though it's like you kind of can in that original game design, and like
it's pretty
Asian.
obvious. Like
Okay. So I'm gonna talk about my outfit really quick before we get
cool.
into this, movie. So this is like flames, like like it kind of is reminiscent of the original logo,
totally,
and like Liu Kang's power of shooting flames. But also, I really thought about this. I really went in deep here. This shirt is a cup of noodles shirt.
Oh, nice.
And this shirt, it's just sort of like a lot of hype around something that ultimately is like fine. It's just kind of like, it's like, it's fine, whatever. Like cup of noodles, no shade to cup of noodles. Cup of noodles is fine. But it's like the shirt's like cup of noodles. Let's go. And that's how I feel the Mortal Kombat fandom is, and the way that these movies are treated. Like all 4 films that have come out, every time it's like, guys, there's a new Mortal Kombat movie out, and it's like, hey guys, It's fine. It's like
Yeah.
at best, it's fine. I actually think that this film franchise is bad. Is like it's just like
Yeah.
it's not good. And then my hat says Frick on it because I also
Yes.
wanted to pay homage to the fact that like this is a very uh famously rated R video
Yes.
game
That's made into
franchise that was
PG-13.
made into a PG-13. Its
Yes.
first mainstream Hollywood outing
Yeah.
was sanitized. Although I will say, watching it again, I was like, they've got a fair amount of violence in here
Yes,
without they found workarounds to the
they do.
gore that I think
And
are
I
clever.
yes, I can't fault them too much on that front because, like, they've done it now, the rated R one, but, I mean, again, even back in the '90s, like, it for there had only been, like, what, 3, video game movies before this. It was Super Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, and Street Fighter,
Which are all
and
terrible movies.
all terrible, absolutely terrible. And they were like, okay, we really gotta like we've got to make money with this movie. So PG-13 gives you the most chance of making money.
Mhm.
And rated R movies hadn't, I mean, video game movies weren't proven. And so
Right,
they were taking a risk just by making a video game movie.
right.
So I understand that. I think in these later movies, it's fine that it's probably better that they've done the rated R side of it because there have been more video game movies and more rated R movies that like people will go see. But the for this one, yeah, it's like, okay, I get it. I get why. And it did pay off. I mean,
Yeah.
it made a lot of money.
Listen, I mean, when we were kids, this movie got us hyped. I
Oh,
mean,
dude, we were all I think you, me, and Anthony.
yeah.
Was it this one or was it Annihilation? It might have been Annihilation. I
No,
don't know. I swear
we liked this one more.
we did like this one more,
We
but I can't
knew that
remember.
Annihilation was bad.
Oh yeah,
We knew it was bad.
yeah. But I
Yeah,
remember going and seeing this. There was the theater by the Cottonwood Mall,
yeah.
and I think we saw this all together.
Mhm.
But I can't remember. But yeah,
We
we
did go
loved
see
this movie.
we did go see Annihilation in theaters, and
We
I
did.
do remember all of us being like, "That sucked," which,
That was bad.
Annihilation was one of those movies that, like, as a little kid, was one of my first, like, disappointments about a film I was really
Yeah,
excited for
yeah,
because I loved this Paul W.S. Anderson
yeah,
Mortal Kombat movie,
yeah,
and so I remember, it's like that first feeling of being like, they had to replace, like, all the principal cast except
yeah,
for Robin Shou
yeah.
and the woman who plays Katana, and the movie just felt cheaper on every level,
Mhm.
like, just being aware as a little kid who liked a lot of bad movies that, like, "Wait, this is, like, extra bad, though,"
Yeah, I
and
remember that too. Like, this movie really kinda sucks.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially to go back to Mortal Kombat, having not watched it in years, and it is one of those films like Masters of the Universe that we watched earlier, that like, in my bones, I remember this movie.
Oh, me
I
too.
remember
The
the soundtrack.
songs.
Yep, yeah,
Mm,
the songs, it's got an iconic soundtrack, and I
yes.
remember, like, the shots, I remember the jokes, I remember, just, like, the inflection of how people read
Yeah,
their lines, like, as the movie
totally.
was playing out, I was like, "Oh, I know all of this so
Yes,
well." I definitely watched this VHS 30 to 50 times as a
totally,
kid,
totally.
but coming back to it, I just was like, this movie's bad." Like, it's not good.
It is
Um,
bad. It is
but
bad. It's a horrible movie,
yeah.
but I gotta say, I kinda love it. Like, I kinda like it. This is like one of the few movies that I'm like, I watched it and I watched it last night and I was like, you had texted me and you're like, dude, I watched it again. It's so bad.
Yeah.
So I was like, I knew it was gonna be bad,
Yeah.
but and it is bad. The story makes no sense in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But like this is kind of the nostalgia factor coming in for sure. And but I do credit where credit is due. The fight scenes in this movie are really some of them are really, really good.
It's like yes, it's like half and half for me.
Yes. Yes.
For me, it's like, all of them suffer from this problem because I went and saw the remake in
Yeah.
2021. I saw that. I've seen all the Mortal Kombat movies in
Yeah.
theaters. I went and saw
That's
that one, and I just went and saw this Mortal Kombat 2 movie with,
yes.
what
Keith Urban.
um,
Or not Keith Urban.
we
We
keep
did that
calling him
before.
uh,
What's his name? Carl Urban, not
Carl
Keith.
Urban.
Carl. Sorry, Carl.
And it's bad. It's a bad movie.
Yeah.
But, like, my problem with all of the Mortal Kombat movies as a
Mhm.
franchise is it's like, guys, the only thing these movies exist to be is cool kung fu movies. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. Like,
Yeah.
these movies only exist to be vessels for, like, several really cool fight scene set
Yes.
pieces.
Yes.
And it's the rule of, like, why are we buying a ticket to watch John Wick 4? Why are we
Yeah.
even bothering with it's like, obviously, people are somewhat interested in the lore of the John Wick
Yeah.
universe and
Yeah.
how people pay for things with gold coins and
Yeah.
the hotel system and all that stuff, but, like, mostly, we are and they even have a jab about John Wick in the newest
Oh,
one,
they do.
yeah, Johnny Cage is like, "No one wants to watch my movies anymore. They just wanna watch Keanu Reeves kill a bunch of guys with a pencil." And it's like, and it's like, but honestly, like, at the
It's
end of the movie,
true.
I was like, "Yeah, though." Like,
Yeah.
what John Wick gets that the Mortal Kombat movies weirdly don't get is it's
Yes.
like, the only reason I'm here is to
Yes.
watch some cool, well-executed fight scenes, and even in these new ones, it's like half and half. Like, there are
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
sequences where I'm like, "That was pretty cool," and I was able to track what was going on, and I was able
Yeah.
to follow it. The problem with all of the films in this franchise is, like, and in this first one that we're talking about today is, like, I just don't think Paul W.S. Anderson is confident enough to just like, leave the camera alone. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, all too often, we'll be, like, watching a fight scene where, like, the coverage will be fine on, like, a certain sequence, like, there'll be
Yeah.
a sequence
Yeah.
of, like, 5 hits where the camera's wide and the characters are, like, moving across
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
set, and it looks pretty cool, but then all of a sudden, he's like, "What if the camera is now, like, on the guy's fist, and it's, like, going
Yeah.
into the guy's face and, like, coming out of the guy's feet and stuff," and it's like, "No, I hate that, that's ugly," and it,
Yeah.
like, ruins the momentum of the scene for me, and it's like an editing choice that, like, I can just see him as the director being like, "We gotta inject this with some energy," and it's like,
Right.
the energy is the fight choreography.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I view fight scenes very much the same way I view dance scenes,
Totally.
in film, where,
Totally.
like, too many cuts really bothers me because 'cause I'm like, "You had a professional choreographer work for months with those
Yeah.
dancers to build this really aesthetically pleasing and beautiful thing that inherently has a lot of energy to it and inherently is, like, worthy of the camera and worthy of the screen."
Yeah.
And instead of just filming it, you're constantly cutting to, like, inserts of people's feet and close-ups of people's
Yeah.
faces as they're dancing and stuff, and, like, close-ups of, like, people's hands clasping and, like,
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that I'm just like, "I don't need any of that." Like, I
Yeah.
every time we're wide in the fight scenes and I'm actually getting to watch 2 performers, like, do the
Yeah.
choreography,
Yeah.
that's when I'm like, "No, dude, just stay there," honestly, and I
Yeah.
think that the John Wick movies get that, like, they
Yes.
stay yeah,
They
yeah,
stay in the wild, and this is what I totally agree.
yeah.
But there are some really, as I said before, there's some really great ones, like the Scorpion Johnny Cage fight. I thought
Yeah,
was really good. I thought it was awesome. But this movie, as you said, or Paul W.S. Anderson just can't really stay. But I think this was really kind of like a good inspiration for the Matrix, where the Matrix
I
used
was
it.
just thinking about that, yeah.
Yes, the Matrix used it perfectly because and Chad Stahelski was Keanu Reeves's stunt double, and
Mhm.
he's making John Wick movies, right? So he understood that as well, doing more wide, making sure the actors know the choreography so that they can do longer shots in the wide and not cut as much, which I think is the best way. But almost seems like the precursor to that. You got to crack a few eggs if you're going to make an omelet, right? So this
Well
almost seems like that. It's like almost there, but it's
well,
not that good.
and totally, and that's the thing is I would say, like, you gotta judge it for, like, its time. What were its
Yeah,
contemporaries? And,
right.
like, what did kung fu movies of the mid-90s look like in general,
Yes.
especially American-made kung fu movies?
Yes.
But even by that metric, I go, like, this was the heyday of Jackie Chan. This is when Jet Li was coming into and, like,
Yeah.
it's only a few years later that, like, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon comes out, and that's, like, really just a phenomenal film
But they're
that
also Hong Kong movies. Most of
yeah,
Jackie Chan movies were made in
yeah.
Hong Kong, so they already had that style. We were still figuring it out here in America.
But if you go and watch, like, Rumble in the Bronx or Mr. Nice
Right.
Guy or anything like
Right.
that,
Yeah. Oh,
it's
I
like
love those movies.
and like bad movies, plot-wise and acting-wise,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
they know what they are. They're movies that exist to be vessels, to just
Yes.
containers for what's the next sequence of crazy stuff Jackie Chan's gonna do.
Totally.
And so often the camera is like on sticks and it's just sort of like maybe like panning to like follow him to like to
Right.
hear, but it's just about like capturing the stunt in camera. And they'll usually shoot it from like a couple different angles. So they have,
Yeah.
but they're all wide angles. There's
Right.
no point in being like, and for this camera angle, we're gonna like have the camera be attached to Jackie Chan's chest so that we can like see
Yes.
him like sliding around this
Right.
pole. It's just sort of like, no, I don't need that angle. And I agree with you. The parts where I started to notice shots that I liked were it started in that Johnny Cage
Totally.
Scorpion fight, but
Totally.
there's like a whole prolonged sequence in that fight when they go to the second location where
Yeah.
they're up on a platform and we're like really wide and we get to see like this really cool production design and
Yeah.
lighting that's going on. And there's like a good 30 seconds sequence where the two of them are just
Totally.
fighting and
Yeah.
we're staying wide. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
do that. Be that. And
Yes, I
yeah,
had the exact same that was like the exact same experience I had. I was like, "Oh, this is a great fight." And the
yeah.
funny thing was that they like I think that fight actually came after. I could be wrong on that, but I think they realized that the fights needed to be a little better. So there's a few that are like I think they filmed it first and then they needed to make them even better. So I think that one, Reptile, and a couple others are like they seem to go back and make them better.
See, and
Because
well, yeah, and even though I would say you're right that they were figuring this stuff out, I think
yeah,
we were figuring it out in America, and I think to this day, still, most directors don't know how to do a cool hand-to-hand combat scene,
yeah,
and they insecurely go like, "Well, it's easier for us to edit it if we do a lot of inserts so that
yes,
we can, we can cut things out for time and we can,"
yep.
but it's like they're not confident enough to go like, "Let's let the actors rehearse this for a few months and then, like, perform it on,"
I
you
think
know.
I think confidence is a lot of it. I think also money. I think
Yeah,
they don't have enough time to
yeah,
rehearse it, and sometimes the actors Keanu Reeves is so dedicated, he will do it. Same with, like, Charlize Theron. She dedicated herself to do it, right?
mhm,
Like, and some of them won't do that, which I understand. Like, a lot of this stuff is dangerous. Like,
yeah,
even these actors, they got beat up pretty good, right? So, like,
yeah,
I understand why you wouldn't want to do that, but you could still do sometimes they don't have, the production wants to get it going and they want to get it done. That's
yeah,
kind of why Jackie Chan doesn't like making American movies, like because we are just too quick. Like
yeah,
he will spend when he makes his movies, when he directs them, he takes his time because he wants to get the fight right so that it looks right. And he has a style that he edits in that is much more wide and longer takes because he can do the choreography. But
well,
I
and think
think I
about,
think
like,
it's a combination of all those.
think about like you could consider like in the 21st century, Tom Cruise has sort of become like an American Jackie Chan, where like
Totally.
he
Totally.
will he will make sure the film has the necessary budget to take the time it takes
Yes.
to do a stunt the right way
Yes.
and to make sure they can film it in a way that's like really cool and
Yeah.
that makes the viewer feel like they're watching something real, which we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
make sure, but like that stuff, to me, it's like if your whole film, if it's just Mortal Kombat and the plot is totally secondary to the fight scenes,
Yeah.
then in my mind, it's like you can't just go like, we didn't have the time I'm like, you've
Yeah.
got to go like, our focus here has to be
Has to be the fights.
these fight scenes,
Totally. And I agree. You really got to spend the time there. Getting to the plot of these
Yeah,
movies. This is the thing about Mortal Kombat, as opposed to what was the other one that we were talking about that had
Street Fighter or
well,
Double Dragon or
no, John Wick. Sorry,
oh,
we
sure,
were
John
talking
Wick,
about
yeah.
John Wick. Here's the thing about John Wick. The nice thing about John Wick is it knows what it is,
Mhm,
and it really is kind of a tongue in cheek a little bit, right?
sure,
Like it's not taking itself too seriously in the moments where the story is there. Like it's a little absurd, and they know that like they're not taking it too seriously. This Mortal Kombat movie took the plot too seriously.
yeah,
Like they're trying. It's like Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious knows it's a crazy action movie, but when they get into the plot, they take it too seriously, in my opinion. That's why I don't enjoy those movies because I'm like, listen, your movie is stupid. Just lean into the stupidity of it. Don't have Vin Diesel going, family's the most important. Like, I don't care about that. And like, and he's taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Like your plot sucks.
I think
So
that's the problem with the John Wick movies as they go on, though, is that like they're like, oh, as we're building this lore,
they
they're getting
yes.
like they're getting
Yeah.
too into the story thing, and it's like, oh, that guys, that's not why we're here. Like
Yeah,
that's not,
exactly.
yeah,
I don't care as much about that. That's
yeah,
why I am actually did you see the trailer for the new Street Fighter movie?
yeah, and it looks fun.
It does. And
Yeah,
this is now we didn't do a prediction for it, but I'm gonna
yeah,
like that looks like a movie that knows it's stupid and it's
mhm.
just gonna get to the cool action sequences. And then the plot is gonna be like ridiculous and stupid, but they're gonna have fun with it. Like I want my fighting movies to be fun.
Well, and I love like I do like that this movie and this new Mortal Kombat movie that's in theaters right now,
Yeah.
and the other remake one to a certain extent, that they understand that it's like, hey, let's keep these scenes in between the fight scenes as short as possible,
Yeah.
and at a certain point, we're just gonna do like a montage of back to back to back fight scenes, and I love that in this 1995 Paul W.S. Anderson movie, once the like tournament begins, when they just do like those like four when it's like Sonya fights some or Liu Kang fights
Liu
a
Kang
guy,
fights
then
the braided hair guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
then Sonya fights Kano,
Kano.
then Johnny Cage fights Scorpion, and
But
then
the Johnny Cage fight, I was going to bring
yeah,
this up because Liu Kang, I get they're like, oh, the tournament has begun, and then
yeah,
Sonya Blade does it, and then we cut to some weird forest
totally.
scene, and
And we haven't
Johnny Cage is just looking around. I
and
was like,
we haven't established at all.
no,
Like
and
the
I
way
was,
yeah, the way that the film is established it is like there is like a ring where people go fight.
yeah,
But it's like all of a sudden Johnny Cage, it's like you're just gonna be fighting him out in this forest.
and
And it's like
he's there, no reason as to why he's
yeah,
there, and then he kills Scorpion, and they never talk about it again.
yeah.
He doesn't even say anything like, dude, I took on Scorpion, I had to kill him, like. It was that, yeah. So but I agree. Also, that's kind of why I love this one too. It was like, oh, okay, well, we're just getting to a fight scene. Great,
And
let's
it's
just get
just
to a
it
fight scene.
literally like there's a part of this movie where I think it does 4 fight scenes back to back to back with no like dialogue scenes in between.
Yes,
And
yeah,
and you're just kind of like, yeah, just yeah, you know what? You know what? You know what, guys? Actually, yes.
yeah.
Just do that. And you're right. As soon as we start as a kid I never questioned it
Oh,
because
me
it just
either.
it felt like the logic of the game. It was just like
Yeah,
now we're over here. But it is weird in the context of the movie to come back to it because it's like every other fight scene that takes place within the tournament takes place like at this like except well I guess not the Sub-Zero fight and not the reptile fight, those take
no,
place in other locations, but like most of the official tournament fights take place like in front of a crowd of people at like
yeah,
a ring where they with
yeah,
yeah
yeah.
oh yeah the guys that go
They show that
yeah
shot like five
yeah
different times. Yeah,
yeah
yeah,
yeah
it's
the guys that are all cheer
Goro.
yeah yeah, and it's like, yeah, Goro's just fighting guys in the ring. He's not fighting them in like different mystical locations. But the
Yeah,
Johnny Cage fight is like they're in a weird magical forest, and
yeah.
then they
Then
like,
they
go through a
teleport.
portal to like hell, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
And it's
And
like
he
I don't know
takes off
where
his mask and he's a skeleton that can breathe fire.
because he is that in the game.
He is, yeah.
But who like whatever, and like his blood is like the way that they get around
Orange,
like gore is that it's
lava.
like his yeah, it's like
Yeah.
lava blood,
Yeah, as
and
long as you don't kill humans. That I read that
yeah,
too. To get a PG-13, if a human died, you would die, but if it's not a human, you can get away with a lot
you can
more.
slice a demon's skull head
Exactly.
in half
Yes, and
and have
lava can come out of him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like freezing the one guy and the guy's head comes off and
Yeah.
rolls up to Shang Tsung's foot, but since he's frozen, his
I think
blood's
he's
not
frozen. Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
and but it's like still, it's like that's a decapitation in this
It is.
PG-13
Yeah.
movie.
Flawless
A
victory.
flawless victory. But also like I just I this movie reminds me kind of when we did Richard Donner's Superman movie
Yeah.
and how at the time Richard Donner was talking about how he wanted to take a superhero movie and take it seriously and go for this like verisimilitude of like
Yeah. Yeah.
making it like be like, well, what if this happened in the real world? And when you listen to the game developers and their vision with Paul W.S. Anderson and New Line Cinema, Paul W.S. Anderson was like, well, because again, so far the movies had been the Super Mario Brothers movie, which is
Yeah.
insane,
Yeah.
Double Dragon and Street Fighter, which are all really bad movies.
Yeah.
And his goal was like, well, what if we took it a little more seriously? What if it felt a little more grounded? What if it felt
Yeah.
a little more like a serious movie? And I
Yeah.
think that ultimately like helped to sell the movie to audiences in the 90s a
Right.
little more. But it's funny because going back to it 30 years later, it's like this isn't a serious movie at all. This is
No.
a ridiculous movie. And it's insane that anyone ever was like kind of like the Richard Donner Superman, where he's like, well, we wanted to do this verisimilitude. And then you go back to it, you're like, what part was grounded to you? The little cartoon legs of
Yeah.
Clark Kent along the side of the train, it's like this doesn't
Totally.
feel not like the way that like him taking the logo off of his Superman thing and throwing it at something like what are you talking
What?
about? Like
Yeah.
but like at the time it had no one had taken a comic book property and given it that
Video
kind of
game?
or I mean, with Superman.
Oh,
No one
with
had taken
Superman.
a
Yeah,
comic book
sorry,
property
sorry.
and given it that kind of treatment, and similar with this movie, it's like, I guess this was the most gritty and mainstream feeling we had gotten, but it is weird to talk about the fact that, like, just a few years after this movie premiered in theaters, production for The Matrix began, and The Matrix is
Yeah.
just such a, like, better kung fu movie, it's just a
Yeah.
better movie, it's just a and
Yeah.
it's like, if we were, like, that close to something like and I think ultimately it's like, I just think the Wachowskis know how to shoot.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
I think they were taking inspiration from, like, manga and from anime and from,
Yeah.
e
They
e
they were, and
yeah,
I think they also, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of this, but I think because it was produced by Joel Silver, I think, and
yeah,
I think he saw the potential in it and he gave them more time and money to get it right. Whereas the producer on this, I can't remember his name. I think he wanted to make this movie popular, but I think he just wanted to kind of get it out and
yeah,
like make money on it. So I think with the Matrix, it kind of had a little more time and a little more care, and they got it right. And this was kind of like, all right, we got to make this. So I'm not trying to knock Mortal
yeah,
Kombat down as much as it may sound, but
yeah,
yeah, I think the Wachowskis too. They just know how to. They just had a better idea and they had a better way. And I don't get what. So this movie was the fourth video game movie that came out. There had been a ton since, but there was not an actual like critically praised and financially successful movie until Detective Pikachu and Sonic, which were in 2019 and 2020. Like, why are video game movies so bad?
I don't know, like, and you could say it's just, like, because the plots aren't designed to be,
Yeah,
consumed in an hour and a half or 2 hours, like, they just like and the plot of Mortal Kombat is so it's literally just, like, the guys at Midway, and it's like, this is an American property, this is a
it
bunch of
is.
white guys from Chicago who
Yeah,
at a Chicago software company who wanted to compete with Street Fighter. They
yeah,
wanted a game in arcades that could compete with Street Fighter, and they made Mortal Kombat, and they just came up with this thin storyline of like, well, there's these different realms of reality.
yeah,
There's Earth
yeah,
realm, and then there's like Outworld, and there's which it's kind of like those two.
yeah,
And they get together, I guess, every so often, and they have a tournament called Mortal Kombat, and whoever wins Mortal Kombat gets to rule over the different realms. And
yes,
but like there's not like it's just sort of like a loose plot to build
yeah,
characters into and just go like we're just going to have these characters fight, and it's not like a plot. You're not meant to be really caring about the story of Mortal
no,
Kombat. You're just meant to be like learning combos and learning how to like pull a guy's head out of his
yeah,
body with his
it's a
spine attached, and
yeah,
you know and it's not about like because like even in the game, it's like, what are you telling me that Earthrealm, I guess, are the de facto good guys and Outworld are the de facto bad guys? But personally, growing up, it was pretty clear to me that all of the coolest characters were the like inhuman Outworld characters. Like
Yeah.
all the Earthworld characters suck. Sonya
Yeah.
Blade and Jax and It's like, no, I want to be Sub Zero or Scorpion or
Totally.
Baraka
Yeah,
uh
Baraka.
or Goro or like you kidding me?
Yeah,
Like
I know. Those were the ones that, yeah, yeah. I don't. The plot on this is very thin, as you said, and it is. It's not. I don't know. I don't know if you could make it any more special or
I
make
feel
it any better.
I almost feel like, and I haven't even watched this.
Yeah.
I haven't watched Paramount Plus's Hulu or Halo, sorry, Halo
Oh yeah, I
series.
haven't watched that
But it
either.
almost feels like a series is like more like so. Okay, The Last of Us I've watched and it's very good,
Yes, it is very
and
good.
I've also been watching Fallout on Amazon and that's pretty good. And it's
Yeah,
like I think a series lends itself to the kind of storytelling that's going on in
it
video
does.
games that actually have a story,
Yes.
because the story to most video games, if there is actually a narrative beginning, middle, and end that you play through, and there isn't really one in Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat's just like
No.
you just fight until you fight the last guy and win the tournament. Like that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are you gonna make a movie about? And it's like the
Yeah.
movie's just gonna be about a bunch of different fights in the
Yeah.
tournament
Yeah.
until the last one. And so which is fine,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like maybe these things lend themselves more to TV in a narrative sense. I
Yeah.
don't know, or maybe it's just that it's hard to get mainstream TV studios and producers to actually like want to give someone the kind of budget or the kind of time that Joel Silver was
Yeah.
giving to the Wachowskis to be like, "Hey, do this right." Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know either because it's also like there are some video games that, as you said, it takes a long time to get through them, and that's the point of the game is so that you can play longer and you can play the characters yourself, right? Like it is a different medium, but the what was the Assassin's Creed movie I thought was a great idea because they're like, listen, we're gonna take the concept of Assassin's Creed, but we're gonna create a new character so we don't have to be beholden to the lore of the game, but it will still feel like the game. And I was like, oh, that's an awesome idea. Watch the movie. It was total crap. I had no idea what was going on.
It
I
was
didn't.
directed by someone like kind of cool though, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had done like Hamlet, and I can't. I was, but it was so bad.
Yeah,
It was so bad, and I
yeah.
just don't get that. Like, I guess I don't. Video game movies are so interesting, and then you have Sonic, which in my opinion is the best video game movie that's been made, and it doesn't really have anything to do with the game. It has the same characters, but in no way in the Sonic the Hedgehog game do you go to Earth and find a human and get that right. But it just worked. But I don't
Right.
know if that works for anything else. Like I don't know. It's such a weird thing, but it's such a bad track record.
Did you ever watch the movie Hardcore Henry?
I never watched it, but I saw it. Yeah, the first
It's it
person. It was
Yeah,
all from first
it's
person. Yeah,
fun. But it's a good example of like, cool. So the movie Doom, with The Rock, like, is by
yeah,
all accounts a terrible film, but it
right.
has like one cool sequence where they go first person and they
Yeah,
do this whole like first person Doom thing, and it's like, cool guys. Why don't like the fact that Hardcore Henry, something that's not based on any existing, it's
yeah,
not actually
yeah,
based on a video game, makes a better first person movie than Doom does, and it's like
yeah.
all there is to Doom. Like, make Doom Hardcore Henry, and the thing about
Right,
Hardcore Henry that's impressive is the technical filmmaking on display. Like when you watch Hardcore Henry, which is like
right.
it is admittedly like it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a very maximalist watch. Like
Yes.
but like the cool thing about Hardcore Henry is it's ostensibly a one shot. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those movies that's like all a oneer. It's all just
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
all just from the perspective of this guy, like it's a first person
Yep. Yep.
shooter game. And there are some insane action sequences in Hardcore Henry that are like so well executed. And because the camera never cuts, like you're seeing everything happen and you're seeing, and
Yeah.
they're deliberately choreographing things to like be in camera in a really interesting way. And
Mhm.
it's like, why not like do one of these famous first person shooter games as a movie like that. Like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna make a Halo movie, like, just do a first person shooter for an hour and a half that, like, is in a battle and just have it be like and just have the whole focus of the film be on, like, technically executing something really difficult to execute, and just
Yeah.
have it be don't worry about, like, are we like, I don't know, just, lean into the fact that the gimmick is the thing.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like my problem with the Mortal Kombat movies, all 4 of them, is it's like, the only reason I'm here is to watch the fight scenes, and if those are just fine,
Yeah.
then you got nothing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I know. I don't get it. And it's also weird. There are a lot of movies that do video game things, but they're not video game movies. So I saw a thing a long time ago how they're like this I think it was an article. The guy was talking about how video games have influenced movies so much, but video game movies are not good. But the concept of Snowpiercer is essentially a video game. You're moving from left to right
Right.
through a train, right? And that's all you do is you're seeing the perspective. Obviously, it's more than that, but like that's the concept of the games that we used to play. Is just going from left to right, and you got to jump, and you got to go this, and that's what Snowpiercer is like, right? And there's other movies that have done video game things, and like Hundreds of Beavers. Have you seen Hundreds of Beavers?
No, but I know about this movie, yeah.
You should see it. It's
Yeah, I've heard it's great.
like hilarious.
Yeah,
And there's so many video game things that they do
yeah,
and it works, but it's not a video game movie. So
yeah.
like I don't know why the video game movies themselves can't really do something like
Oh,
that like you're talking about.
I mean, on the tip of, like, stop cutting so much during your fight scenes, let me see
Yeah.
the action.
Yeah.
I was already thinking, like, it would just be cool in a Mortal Kombat movie if they actually just had a fight scene where the camera was just on one side of it, and it was just side to side,
Right, right,
a
right.
like, if it
Totally.
like, it
Totally.
and, like, you could just stage it on something like a narrow bridge where the characters
Yeah.
only have the option of moving side
Very
to
cool.
side, and
Yeah.
then just, like, show me, like, just straight up, like, what it looks like when I'm playing the game, and just
Yeah.
have, like, a dope fight scene, and
Right.
in Mortal Kombat 2, the one that's in theaters right now, they started a fight scene that way, like, a guy walked out onto this bridge, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
awesome." I was like, "Are they" and they sort of do it with the Johnny Cage Scorpion one in the '95
Right.
movie, where they put them
Right.
on this
On the
platform
yeah, yeah.
that's just and I'm like, "Do this and just have the camera be, like, on sticks, looking right at them, and just have the characters move side to side." I
Yes.
think in a movie that would be awesome, especially if the choreography was really well executed,
Totally.
and it was like that would be riveting to watch, and visually it would be like, you really don't need to do much here. Like, you don't need to
No. And
overcomplicate this.
honestly, you do that. It might even be cool to like, if it is a oneer, you could even like zoom in on certain parts and then zoom back. Like you could still make it interesting. You don't have to have it sitting on sticks. But even if you do have it on sticks, if your people are good enough, it would make it interesting.
Like, go watch the final fight between, Paul Atreides and, Thade Rafa
Oh,
in
totally.
Dune
Yeah,
Part
yeah,
2, and Denis Villeneuve shoots that way.
yeah,
It's all
yeah,
on one side of them, and they're moving side to side, and you're,
yeah,
like, watching it in this wide, and at a certain point, he switches to the other side. He switches to
yeah,
the other side of it, but, like, he's mostly capturing them as, like, a
yeah,
side scroller fight,
yeah,
and it's fantastic. It's an amazing
yeah.
fight, but also, like, a lot of wide shots where you're, like, watching those 2 do it, and it's
Right.
awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah.
It's really, really cool. But yeah, okay, this movie, it's very thin. We start the movie with Shang Tsung killing, Liu
His
Kang's brother
brother.
Chen,
And then
and
and then did you notice this? He got a Western Union. Liu Kang wakes up in a green room, which I was like, "Oh, wow, looks like the Matrix." But
yeah.
he goes over and he picks up a paper and it's a Western Union and it's
Oh,
like,
interesting.
"Come home, like dad," or whatever. And I was like, "Wow, this is a 90s movie."
Yeah.
Like nobody sends a Western Union.
Yeah, and we get a good look at Robin Shoes rocking bod,
Oh yeah.
right
Yeah.
away. But yeah, like, I do appreciate the pace at which this
Yeah.
movie is like hurtling us toward something like that. It's just
Yeah.
like, hey, let's quickly introduce you to our main cast of characters. We
Mhm.
get really quickly through the introductions to like Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, and Johnny Cage.
Johnny Cage.
Johnny Cage is, fighting on a movie set. Sonya is chasing down Kano with
Yeah.
her partner Jax, who Jax just, I don't know why Jax is just relegated to like a little cameo here. I'm like,
I
if
don't
he's gonna be in
either.
the film, why doesn't he get on the boat? I don't.
I know, I didn't
It's
get that
also
either.
weird that we like replace Jax with the Art Lee character, like the guy that is not in the games. That's
Yeah.
like, the guy that's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you're Johnny Cage, right?" I'm like, "Why not just have that guy be Jax?" Like, I doesn't
I
I don't
know.
know, whatever.
I don't
Um,
know either.
but yeah, they get on they all get on this boat for different reasons. We're sort of established like their motivations. Liu Kang wants to avenge his brother's death because Shang Tsung's on the boat. Sonya is tracking down Kano, and Johnny Cage wants to prove that he's not a fake, that he can actually
Yeah.
fight for real.
But it's also
Um,
like the motivations to have Shang Tsung get them on the boat made no sense to me whatsoever. He's like, Sonia, make sure she's on the boat. And
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
why?
totally.
They never talk
Exactly.
about why.
Why does Shang Tsung need these 3
Yes,
people to be on the boat? Shang
yes,
Tsung manipulates Johnny Cage
yes.
into getting on the boat by pretending to be his, like,
Yeah.
old
He shape
instructor.
shifts into him. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like a Shang Tsung thing, he can shapeshift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, he tricks Sonya into getting on the boat by baiting her with Kano, and
Yeah.
then obviously, he just, like, he killed
He
Liu Kang's
killed.
brother
Yeah.
but it's like, why does he need it there's no explanation as to, like, if Shang Tsung's whole thing is, I want to win Mortal Kombat so I can
Yeah.
rule over Earthrealm, why does he want the best fighters to fight for Earthrealm?
I
I
know.
don't
It's just so weird because he's like, it's almost as if he has a plan for Sonya, like specifically for Sonya.
Yeah.
And it's like, but what is the plan? And
No,
is
that
it
doesn't
just that
pay
he
off
has
at
a
all.
thing for her? Like it doesn't. And it almost feels because they did not. The script was not finished when they were filming this movie, so
You can tell.
you can tell, you could really tell.
Yeah.
And so Paul W.S. Anderson was like, "Hey, just ad lib as much as you can," which again, you can tell. But I think it was almost like, well, there's got to be a reason, so we'll say that there's a reason. But then the reason in the end is just like, oh no, you beat Goro, so I'm gonna kidnap Sonya and take her. But there was no motivation for him to have those 3 there for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like this movie just decides sort of randomly because this isn't in the
Yeah,
game to
yeah.
make Sonya and Johnny Cage and Liu Kang the main 3 characters and like the good guys. And that's just sort of like,
And
sure, why not? And
why are they friends?
the movie the development of their friendship is
Makes no
so
sense.
thin. Also, did you notice when they were on the I never saw this as a kid, I can't believe I didn't see it, but watching it maybe it was just watching it, like, in higher
Yeah,
definition
yeah,
on the stream, like, the scene on the boat after they meet, Sub-Zero and Scorpion for, like, a second on the boat, and, like, Raiden shows up and he's like,
yeah,
"I don't think so."
yeah,
You know, when they first of all, they go out and they have this meeting with Raiden on, like, the deck of the ship, and everyone else that's on this boat is just gone. Like, everyone
yeah.
like, the boat
No
was
one's
full of
there.
also, the boat seems, like, significantly smaller than
It's
it was
small.
before. It's, like, very small, but also the set that they're on this boat is ridiculous. Like, you can see the black curtain with, like, little
Oh.
star lights that are, like, the star like, you I don't know if you could see I don't like, on my TV, I could see the folds in the curtain that was
Oh, no
supposed to be
way.
the night sky, and, like, I could see, like, the string lights that were the stars, and I was like, "What?" I was
Right.
like, "Wait,
Wow.
we're just very clearly on a soundstage." Like, they're not even, like, rocking the boat back and forth to
No, it's
simulate
just there.
it's just, like, very clearly
This
honest yeah.
this is the other thing about this movie that I noticed this time. Like, the visual effects first of all, the visual effects overall are just really, really bad.
Yeah,
They're bad even by 1995
yeah.
standards. But, like, this
It's 2
felt
years after Jurassic Park,
yeah, yeah.
and, like,
Reptile
Reptile
looks
looks
horrible.
terrible.
But this whole movie, I was like I never noticed this. I always thought this was like a cinematic movie. I watched it this last time and I'm like, this looks like a 90s TV show.
Mhm.
Like I watched it, I just kept getting Charmed vibes. My mom was
Yes.
a huge Charmed fan.
Yeah,
And like
Buffy,
I
Charmed,
yep.
yeah,
I was
mhm.
like, the quality of this is not good. Like
Yeah, it's a CW show for
it
sure.
is a CW show, and I
Yeah.
was like, and the same thing with those, just the sets and everything. It's like the production design is good. Like they put time into it, and they have big sets, which are nice, but it has the feel of a CW '90s show.
Everything just feels cheap. Everything feels like it's
Totally.
made out of styrofoam.
Yes.
Everything like when we were on that boat, when they went up and had that scene on the boat, I was like, "What?" I was just like,
Yeah.
"What is this set?" And as a kid, I was always just like, "Ah, yeah, I totally believe they're on a boat." It's weird, but I was
Yeah.
watching it now, I was like,
Yeah.
"Huh?" It's also like, I don't know if that's Christopher Lambert's normal speaking voice or if that's the voice he decided to do.
I
Uh,
know.
we've got a white guy playing an Asian role,
Yeah.
and it is so weird. It's so clearly supposed to be an Asian guy, and he speaks with this weird and I don't know if that's Christopher Lambert's just like natural, like
Yeah.
Swedish accent
Uh,
or something, but
yeah.
he's like, "My champions from Earthrealm, they will
Yeah.
be fine." It's just it's so
Tournament of Mortal Kombat.
and
Yeah, it's real
also,
bad.
like, anytime they have, like, a scene with Lord Raiden where he's, like, meant to, like, explain something to them, he doesn't explain anything. He's always just like, "The 3 of you are the key to defeating Outworld,"
How are they the key?
and they're like
How?
and they're like, "Why us?" And he's like, "Prepare yourselves for the fight." It's just like it's
And
like,
then
huh
and then Liu Kang at one point is like, "Oh, I need to do this." He's like, "You're finally learning." And I'm like, "Learning what?
learning
You
what?
haven't taught them anything."
And then Katana for no reason, Katana as a character just, like, shows up and she's like, "You're going to have to face yourself, and then you're going to have to use
Yeah,
to win your next battle, use the element which brings life." Just say water.
I
Like, that
know.
what are you talking about? Water. Water is the element that brings life. It's like it's
It's
just
so
and it's
bad.
also like, who is Katana? I know that, like, in the lore of the game, she is the daughter of Shao Kahn, the
Yeah,
emperor, but
yeah,
it's also like, we're just, like we're given so little to go off of,
yeah.
and for no also, again, we don't establish the friendship of the 3
Mm,
leads, but we do even less to establish the romantic connection between Johnny Cage and Sonya and
so
Liu
bad.
Kang and Katana. By the end of
So
the
bad.
film, they're just paired up because it's like, well,
Yeah.
the boys and the girls are now
Yeah. Well, and like, oh my gosh. So the first of all, Liu Kang, Johnny Cage is like, "Hey, take my bags." He's like, "You take them, I pay you. Is it that hard?" Or whatever. And he's like, "Sure." And he takes it and he throws his bag in the ocean.
Yeah.
And, and then the next scene, they're like, "Hey, dude, where are you going? Like, come back here." And they talk and they're like all buddy buddy. And then Sonya Blade and they hate each other the whole movie. And then all of a sudden at the end, she's like, "Don't do this. You can't fight him anymore." And I'm like, why is there a romantic connection? There's
And
nothing.
he's like, "The thought of losing to him is easier for me to bear than the thought of losing you." And
I was like,
it's like,
what are you talking
what are
about?
we talking about?
When
What
did
do you
this
mean?
happen? You've
And
been
it's
here
just
for
like
2 days.
and the movie's just like, "Hey, attractive people are attracted
Yeah.
to each other." It's like, "Well, you come on," you
And
know?
then and Sonya's first of all supposed to be a very strong character.
This movie does her so dirty in
Eh,
the final act.
she kills Kano, first of all, like very easily, which
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And by the way, I don't know why, but the guy who plays Kano, he's probably the best actor in this movie for the
Yeah.
part that he plays. I don't know why. He's so good in that part. Like,
He's also disgusting.
yeah, he like works really, really well. And his accent and the way he moves and his physique, like, I don't know, that dude, like, really, like, I
Him
kind of like him the
spitting
most.
him spitting on her thigh is one of those images that I have in my mind, like,
Me too,
and watching
dude.
it again, I was like, "This is so gross." Like, this is
Burned in my brain.
so gross. Him just spitting, like, being like, "No, Sonya,
Yeah,
don't,"
yeah.
with, like, the spitting all over her thigh.
Yeah.
But also, interestingly enough, this is sort of a pattern because in the new movies, the new Mortal Kombat movies, like, one of the standout characters is the guy that plays Kano, and it's
Really.
like, for no reason, again, Kano's just sort of, like, really competently performed and acted, and, like,
That's
the guy
so
who plays him,
weird.
like, does a lot of ad libs and improvs
Yeah.
that are sort of like a saving grace for the films because they're
That's
actually, like,
so
pretty entertaining,
funny.
and it's like, I don't know why across all of the Mortal Kombat movies, the Kano character is the one that, like, works.
Saves it. Yeah.
Is it just that we like Aussie accents? And I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it's weird that dude like does it. But so she kills off Kano real quick. And
"Hello, baby.
yeah.
Did you miss me?"
Yeah. Like whatever. But she's obviously strong. There's no point. Her whole story doesn't make any sense. But she's a
we
strong character, and
we
then in the end,
establish her as like hardcore.
oh,
She's one of the top 3 fighters from Earthrealm, and then at the end of the movie, they just turn her into a damsel in distress
so
with no
stupid.
explanation. She puts up
No,
no fight whatsoever against
no,
Shang Tsung, and then they just put her in an outfit and like change her hair to be
yeah,
like a princess who's like
sexy
tied up
princess, yeah,
waiting to be rescued. And it's like, what are you talking like? It's just like out of nowhere, they're like, and now she's just Johnny Cage's girlfriend and he's got to go rescue her. And it's like,
yeah,
what do you like? How did she
so
become his
dumb.
girlfriend? And also, we have established this character as being more than capable of being able to handle herself. Like,
Yeah,
what, like, this is like if all of a sudden at the end of The Matrix, like, Agent Smith just sort of, I guess this could happen because the agents are very powerful. But if
yeah,
like they just grabbed Trinity and she was like, "Ah, help, Neo," and then they just like put
yeah,
Trinity in like a sexy costume and like changed her
totally,
haircut and had her like wait for Neo to come rescue her,
yeah,
they'd be like, what do you mean? Like, we
yeah,
opened the movie introducing Trinity as like maybe the most
yes,
hardcore person in Morpheus's
totally.
resistance. Like, yeah, you
Yeah,
can't.
and that's why
Yeah,
Trinity is great because in the second movie, right, she's fighting,
yeah.
fights real hard, so she never goes easily, but Sonya just, like he's got her arm behind her back, and he's like, "Oh, I challenge Sonya Blade for the tournament," whatever, and it's like, "Why don't you just kick him? Like, you're strong, do it," but no, they, like, very old thinking, "Oh, the woman has to be in trouble, and they have to save
Yeah,
her."
yeah. The fact that like the big threat in the third act of this movie is that Shang Tsung surprises everybody by challenging Sonya. And like maybe that was his whole plan. Like the reason why he needed to get
Yeah,
Sonya on the boat is so that he could challenge her for the ultimate title of like ruling over Earthrealm. And he knew like I can beat up a girl, but it's like, but again, the movie has already established Sonya as being at least as capable a fighter as Johnny and Lou. And
yeah,
all of a sudden, for no reason, she's just like, "Ah, Johnny, help!" And it's like, I just was watching this like, man, they did her dirty in the
they
third
did,
act.
they
They
did.
just like,
Totally. She does, yeah.
yeah,
It just it doesn't, and then the fact that all right, she's captured and they're like she's like, "My friends will come and save me." And he's like, "Oh, your friends will not come and save you," or whatever. And then she's like, "They will come." And he's like, Johnny Cage, he pulls off the hood of all the monks that are there. He's like, "We're already here." It's like,
the amount of
why are you sitting there? Why are you? Did you guys like, here, let's take these monk costumes and don't say anything until someone says something like, "Oh, my friends will come," and then we'll reveal ourselves. Like, why are they there? Why did
also, what's the holdup? Why is Shang Tsung not fighting her?
I
Like,
don't
he took her to Outworld to fight her, right?
it
Like
yes,
like,
yes.
he takes her there, and then he's like, "Now let's chain you up and wait for your friends to come fight me." And it's like,
Yeah.
well, that's not why you said you were going there. You said you were going to Outworld to
I
fight
know.
her.
I know.
Shouldn't you just, like, get there and immediately start fighting? What
Yeah.
is the point of changing her clothes and her haircut and then wait? Like, it just is like there is so much stuff in this movie plot wise that happens off screen that's just like,
Yes.
so like, the boys go to Outworld to rescue
Which
Sonya, and then like Katana shows up and she's like, "We got to go get Sonya," and they're like, "All right," and then they
well,
just are with the monks, and it's like,
but
well,
then
what?
no, but even so,
Yeah,
they're setting up the third act, right?
yeah,
Like, oh, okay, she is taken. We have to go save her and save the day. So they go to Outworld, and then they have the random fight with Reptile,
yeah,
which
totally,
I mean, I love the fight. It's actually one of the cooler fights.
yeah.
But it's like this is the second act thing. We're in the third act. Why are you veering off into this weird fight scene that he kills him and Johnny Cage is just like watching? And like,
Oh,
oh, I
oh,
guess cool. And
oh,
then he
also,
kills him and then he just leaves.
the amount of watching that Johnny Cage does in the third act of this movie is crazy.
It
Like,
is.
Johnny Cage and Lou are walking through Outworld together. Lou hears and senses Reptile, grabs him, starts fighting him. I also love how the soundtrack does the video game thing. He goes, "Reptile," when he
Yeah, yeah,
turns
yeah, yeah.
into Reptile. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is a fun fight scene, but it's like throughout this whole fight scene, Johnny Cage is just outside, just
Yeah.
watching this happen. And it's like,
Hanging out.
why would he not get in there? And it's like it would be a more interesting fight scene if it was a 2-on-1.
Yeah,
I
kind of
think that
cool.
I
Yeah.
think it would be like kind of cool to watch, like, and it would also like help to establish visually the building of their friendship, that like Lou and Johnny are helping each other defeat
Yeah.
this foe. But it's got to be like, no, Liu Kang's like our hero, so he's got to have, but then like they they meet up with Katana, who's just waiting for them there, and then they dress up like these monks, which we that happens off screen. They
Yeah.
go up to rescue Sonya, and then like Liu just fights Shang Tsung, and Katana, Sonya, and Johnny just watch.
Watch.
They just
Well, and Shang Tsung is like, Sonya's like, I do not challenge you. I will not accept your challenge. And then Shang Tsung goes, fine, Johnny Cage, I will challenge you. And then Liu Kang goes, no, I challenge you. And he's like, okay. And I was like, why did you challenge Johnny Cage? Like, what is this? Why are you doing this? Like,
it's like if you knew Liu Kang was like the one person you were afraid to fight,
yeah,
why'd you kill Liu Kang's brother and like lure him to
yeah,
come fight you in Mortal Kombat? If you knew that like you don't want to tangle with Johnny Cage and he's like, why'd you pretend to be his fight instructor? And again, none
yeah,
of this pays off at all.
no,
And it's like,
no,
if the only thing we could go with is like, you wanted Sonya to be there so that you could have an easy person to beat. But then, like, the most satisfying conclusion to that arc would be Sonya should be the one who kicks his ass. Like, Sonya,
totally,
like,
yeah, yeah,
Sonya should be the one who beats him. Like, he
yeah,
should be like, oh, well, I can easily beat Sonya Blade. And then, like, when she gets there, he should be watching her like just dispatch of foes, and he should be like, "Oh no, I picked wrong." Like there should be something in the screenplay that's like, "Oh, I underestimated these three people."
yes,
I thought, because we talk about how Shang Tsung can see into your soul and he
yeah,
can see your weaknesses. There should be like something in the screenplay should be like the weakness that he saw in Johnny Cage was X. The weakness
yeah,
that he saw
yeah,
in Liu Kang was this. And they all of their arcs should be showing him how he misjudged
right.
those weaknesses are actually
That
strengths or something,
yes,
yeah.
and I mean that's yeah. Their fights leading up to him are what they use to overcome those weaknesses, right?
But their
Like
fights
they
aren't anything. Their fights are just random
no,
fights.
they are, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like they kind of tried to do that a little bit, but I think it's a little too late because it comes in weirdly at times. Like you have to fight yourself, and you have to fight your enemy, and then you have to fight yourself again, or whatever she says. Katana says. I
Also, I mentioned this character earlier, but like Art Lean, what are we
yeah.
doing here?
I don't
Like what like we don't have Jax and we put this guy named Art Lean who's not in the video game
no.
as just like a random guy who's like a fan of Johnny Cage, and he's just there for like our three heroes who are randomly friends. The screenplay doesn't justify their friendship, but
No.
he's there for them to like scream, like get sad when Goro kills him. And
Yeah.
like it
No! Like, they're super sad.
and also, like, the way that Goro is unleashed into the tournament, he's like, "Is it time now?" And Shang
Yeah.
Tsung's like, "Yes, it is time." And it's like, "What? But what? Why? Why did you even, like,
I
wait?
don't know.
What's even the point?" Like, and then, like, we do this montage of Goro just killing all of these
Yeah.
challengers from
Like,
Earthrealm.
many, many people.
And by the way, all these guys look like guys that it's like, who are these people? None of these guys look like dudes that should be fighting in Mortal
No.
Kombat.
No,
Like
not at
none of,
all.
but like whatever. Goro's killing all these guys, and then Art Lean fights Goro. And the movie just tells us that off screen, our three main characters developed like a close personal relationship with Art
Yeah.
Lean by
Yeah.
just being like, yeah, they're all here to cheer Art on. And it's like, Art. And it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know who this is. If it was Jax, Sonya's partner,
Yeah.
then I would be like, "Oh, it's Jax, a guy who's in the games and
Yeah.
who is,
Yeah.
but like but it's just Art Lean. Goro kills this guy. I will say like this Goro practical puppet is like
Yeah.
fun.
It's an animatronic. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a little stiff, and it's a little bit
Oh,
like
totally. You can
you
tell
gotta
it's like and they had a ton of problems with it on set,
you can tell.
apparently. Yeah.
Mm,
It's like, "Whoa."
yeah,
And it's like it doesn't move naturally.
it doesn't move as fluidly as, say, like, the Jim Henson, Ninja Turtles costumes.
No,
Like,
no, no.
it's pretty stiff, and it doesn't
Yeah.
quite it doesn't have the mobility that you want it to have to show that Goro is this champion fighter,
Yeah.
but, the Johnny Cage Goro fight is like pretty fun.
Yeah.
He does his signature Johnny Cage move, which is go on the splits and punch him in the balls,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Goro's like, "Die!" Yeah.
Yeah.
And then but like even like the way that he kills him, it's like
This is the funny, yeah, it's pretty stupid because he just like
there's
he kicks him
$500
off of,
shades.
yeah, yeah, it's like, and then he just like this is the part where this is when you fall down, and like but the funny this did you notice this? So first of all, Goro is voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, very famous voice actor, very distinct voice.
Mhm.
But when he's talking, you can tell that it's him. But then the sounds that he makes when he's fighting sounded like the Sasquatch from Goofy movie. It's like like that. I was like, is this the same? Does he do this? Which I gotta look now. Does he do the
Yeah,
sounds for the Sasquatch? Because it was like
could be.
I could not just it like, and it also just sounds like a lot of various monster things. But anyway, that I just was like, is that the same? So I got to look into that. Maybe I'll look into
Yeah,
it.
the logic of the plot of this movie makes no sense. Like,
No, it
there
doesn't.
is no reason why Shang Tsung should be like holding Goro back until a certain point in the. If he's gonna like let Sub Zero and Scorpion loose from the get go, why hold like Goro back? Like, I don't.
Yeah,
There's
I
just
don't get it.
there's no reason why nothing is like is motivated or justified. They're trying to like give this showdown with Johnny Cage and Goro some weight by being like Johnny's friend Art died. But it's just like, hey, if you did anything in the movie to just establish these characters getting to know each other
Yeah.
better or like yeah. But again, it's like this just isn't a very good movie. It's got
No,
some
it's
like
not.
some halfway decent production design. You're totally right. It feels like a CW film. The fight scenes are like almost good. Like like
Yeah.
some of them are like, oh, that was like had moments that were good. I feel like the Liu Kang and Sub-Zero fight like could be cooler. I think that like
Yeah.
the
The
finale to it
Sub-Zero fight is the biggest disappointment because
yeah, the
Scorpion is awesome. I
Scorpion's
always
awesome, but
love Sub-Zero, but they have like a couple things and then he does his whoa and
the fact that his final move is just to like, I'm going to create a bubble of like emanating ice that as it
yeah.
gets close, it's going to be very slowly getting closer to
Yeah.
you. And it's just sort of like, well, why not just like shoot? Like, why not just freeze Liu Kang? Like,
Yeah.
like,
I don't
I,
get it.
yeah.
I don't get it.
But
Okay,
it's
here's what I found.
okay.
Okay. The Goofy movie voice actor is voiced by Frank Welker. And guess who is in Mortal Kombat? Frank Welker.
Whoa.
So he's the voice. It's gotta be. It's
He
gotta
does the
be. He
yelling.
does. He's the
Crazy.
like it's so
Insane.
anyway. Just found that
Insane.
I should have looked at that beforehand.
They
But
were like, we don't like
so
this other guy's like fight noises as
yeah,
much. We have two different voice
Sasquatch.
actors.
Yep,
It's yeah, I don't know, man.
dude, that's
It
super
really
funny.
does feel like you're watching a movie that, like, as they were making it, they were like, um, okay,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then this happens, and then he takes her to Outworld, so you guys got to follow. But it's like even when they're like, "Let's go," and Raiden's like, "I cannot follow you
yeah.
there,"
It's
and
like
it's like, why?
why?
Well,
Yeah,
he's like, "You know everything I can teach you," and it's like, "You haven't taught us anything. You're like, you haven't done anything." He's like, "You're finally ready to accept the challenge of your Mortal Kombat," and it's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "You haven't taught us.
you
You
haven't
haven't taught
taught
us
them
anything,
anything.
dude. You've
You
just
haven't
showed
said
up and
anything.
been like, I don't think so," and
Yeah,
it's like, what? Yeah, like that whole scene too, where like they fight the random
for no
henchmen
reason.
for
Yeah,
no reason, and it's just so that the movie can have a fight scene, and then
yeah,
Raiden just stops
yeah.
it. He's like, "No more fighting," and like it's just like, and then he's like, "You guys must practice and get ready for combat," and they're just like, "Okay," but it's like, what? It's just, it's just so like the movie's just like good guys, bad guys, no explanation as to why uh they go to island, they fight. It really
Yeah,
does seem like in post they were like, we can't just have people fighting on the sand. We got to go to some other locations. So they shot the like, the reptile fight and the the scorpion fight and like
Yeah.
added those in, and that's why Johnny
Yeah.
Cage is just like watching the reptile fight, and because maybe there was like a scheduling who
It
knows,
had
but
it, yeah.
it is like it is a ridiculous mess, and I think
It is.
of the Mortal Kombat movies, it's my favorite, but only for nostalgic reasons.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the only reason too. It
Yeah,
just reminds me the soundtrack. And I mean, hey, you gotta commend him for the soundtrack. It was a pretty bold
sure.
choice. And it I think it paid off because it's still that soundtrack hits, man. It's a
People,
good one.
a certain audience really loves this stuff. They really love these movies.
They
People
do.
are really responding positively to
Yeah.
these
Mortal
new
Kombat.
ones. I've seen
Yeah.
both of them, and I think they're terrible.
Yeah.
But I just look, if I'm gonna sit down and watch like a fight slop movie, I'm gonna
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
like a John Wick movie, or I'm gonna watch one of the Matrix movies, or I'm gonna watch an old
Mhm.
Jackie Chan film, or like I'm gonna watch like uh Hero or
Mhm.
Crouching Titan. Like I'm gonna watch,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
but I'm not gonna watch one of the Mortal Kombat movies, I don't think. Um, should we get into scores?
Let's get into scores.
Okay, we rate movies out of 10, 10 being the best. We give a score for technical rating, a score for the ending, a score for rewatchability, a score for cultural significance and impact, and a score for our subjective feelings. So, Kramer, what is your technical rating for Mortal Kombat 1995?
Okay, my technical rating is a 4. This is a horrible script. It's horribly directed. It's very poorly acted in many ways. The set designs are fine. Like production design is fine, but it feels like a TV. It feels like a CW TV show. The fight choreography is like kind of what's giving that the most points. Trying to see it from an objective standpoint, like it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just not well. But it's also the fight is kind of fun, so I gave it a 4.
It's interesting because I gave it a 4 as well, and I was just thinking about, like, design and stuff. It's interesting that, like, Scorpion and Sub-Zero are 2 of the probably most accurate costume designs to what we saw in the game of
Yeah,
any of the film adaptations so far.
yeah,
Costumes in the movie just still look cheap.
they
They
do.
just they look like cheap Spirit Halloween, like,
Yeah,
Halloween
they do.
costumes. Like, it just looks like they're wearing, like, really cheap, like Under Armour black
Yeah,
T-shirts and pants with, like, mat cheap material that was like,
yeah,
it
yeah,
whereas, like, when you look at, like, versions of Scorpion and Sub-Zero in, like, the newer movies, it's like, yeah, it looks like you actually tried to put something into these costumes and give them a little, I'm also watching it, I was like, "Yeah, but that's what the costumes look like in the game." Like, they look
yeah,
more like that.
yeah,
But, yeah, I give this a 4. The only points I can give to it are, like, I think, I actually think that Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage is doing
yeah,
his level best here.
yeah, yeah.
He's trying
He
so hard
he
to,
seems
like,
to be the best of those 3.
yeah,
He has a
and
character and he's something. Yeah,
the actor that plays Shang Tsung, I think, is doing his
yeah,
best to have fun and chew the scenery up,
yeah,
and I think the fight scenes are, like, there's moments of, like, "Oh, that sort of works," but I
mhm,
think, yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson gets in his own way constantly as a director, and I think the edit
yeah,
constantly gets in the way, and the
mhm.
screenplay is nothing, it's garbage, it's trash. So, yeah, 4 is the highest I can give it.
Yeah.
How about the, ending?
The ending I gave a 4 because it doesn't make any sense. But this again, like I'm including Reptile in there because it's there. Technically seems like it's a third act. So I liked that fight and the fight between Shang Tsung and Liu Kang is pretty cool. Like they've got the spikes that come up. And it's okay, but it ultimately, I mean, is not the also the ending when they walk out and they're all like, "Oh yeah, we're guy girl, like it was cool," and then
And they're all just like, when he's like, "Let's go home." I'm like,
yeah,
"Guys, you are not friends."
yeah. And then Shao Kahn is like, "Roar," and it's like really
Yeah.
bad CGI,
We didn't
and
talk
it's
about,
like,
one of my favorite moments from the ending, which is when Liu Kang is in the middle of fighting Chang Tsung. They are in the middle of their fight, and he like follows him up to this platform. He watches Chang Tsung shapeshift into his brother, and then he watches it happen, and he turns around and he's like, Liu, and then he's like, Chen, it
Yeah.
can't be you. And it's
It's
like,
like, yeah, you
no,
just saw that.
it's not him. Like, it's like, what are you talking? Like, I just was like,
Oh,
you are
man.
in the middle of fighting this guy. You have been told, you've watched him suck people's souls out of their body.
Yeah.
Like, you've watched this happen. You know that he like contains the souls of his fallen enemies in him.
Yes.
And like, you watch him shapeshift into your brother. You watch it happen, and you're like, wait, Chen?
Yeah.
Is that you? I'm just like, because this is a common thing in movies, like where like a shape-shifting character will shapeshift into like someone's dead relative. It happens in
Yeah.
Masters of the Universe where
Yeah.
Evelyn shapeshifts into Courtney
Into her
Cox's
mom.
dead mom.
Yeah.
But like Courtney Cox doesn't watch Evelyn shapeshift into her dead
No,
mom.
no.
You know,
So
it's
the surprise is more of a surprise. It makes
right.
sense. Yeah.
The fact that Liu Kang watches this happen in the middle of fighting the guy, and
I
it stops
know.
him dead in his tracks, and he's like, "Wait, are you my
Yeah.
brother?" I'm
Yeah.
just like, "No, what are you
I know.
talking about?"
So dumb. So dumb.
It's so dumb. But yeah, I gave the ending a 4 as well. Because the end fight scene is like kind of iconic. I like the symbol, like the
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
symbol being on the
Looks
ground
cool. Yeah.
and the spikes being like from the game and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And the final like hit when
yeah,
looks cool.
it's crazy that the other 3 main characters are just standing there watching all that happen.
I know.
It's it's
Thank
so
goodness.
weird to just imagine. It's also weird that, like, we never do, like, coverage of them, that, like, we
No.
never, like the camera never goes to them to be
Ah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh," you know, like, they just disappear from the
Yeah.
room.
They do.
It's really weird.
Very weird.
Yeah, how about rewatchability?
Rewatchability, I'm giving a 6 because like I had fun watching it because it was so bad now, and like I just would laugh at certain parts, like, oh man, that's so stupid. But some of the fight scenes are pretty cool, and it's so I could kind of rewatch some of it, but I probably won't that much anymore. But
I gave it a 5 just for nostalgia points
yeah,
alone, just to be
yeah,
like, well, it's kinda it definitely doesn't have the effect it had on me as a kid. It's not like coming back to The
totally,
Matrix and
totally.
being like, "Man, this movie just gets better every time I
Oh
watch it."
yeah,
It's like this is a movie where it's like, "Boy, I really loved this movie as a kid,
yeah,
and it has lost a lot of its polish." It is, like,
yes,
so much worse than I remember.
totally.
Yeah, it's sorta like the difference between, like, when we watched the 1990, Ninja Turtles movie, and we were like, "That movie's
Yeah,
really good."
yeah,
And then immediately after that, I watched Secret of the Ooze, which I also liked, and I was like, "Boy, this is bad." Like,
yes,
this is not good.
yes.
Yeah. How about, cultural significance and impact?
Cultural impact, I'm giving a 7. I mean, there's still a franchise, obviously.
Yep.
This Mortal Kombat 2 is just coming out. It just came out. And the also the I mean, I think it did help the Matrix,
Yeah.
like because I read a bunch of stuff that like Robin Shaw, that was his name, right? Yeah, Robin Shaw. He was a Hong Kong actor and he brought a lot of wire work in and they did a lot of wire work in the fighting, and that obviously all the wire work that they did in the Matrix I'm sure was kind of helpful for it. So I think it had an impact on movies in a way,
Yeah.
right? Like the Matrix is way more influential, but I think it still did. And then also just the soundtrack was kind of like again like that. It went platinum. The record went platinum, and they're still using it today. It's no John Williams, but it also is kind of has
It's
some
it's
staying
it's
power.
so quintessentially 90s.
It
Like,
is,
when it comes to 90s electronic, like,
dude. That's
electron
like the
like,
epitome.
it's like this is so it I mean, yeah, this is my highest score, and it's a 6.5 for the cultural significance because
Nice.
it saved the viability, or it kind of proved the viability uh of video game films as like being financially viable at the box office. Like,
Mhm.
this was
Yeah,
a box office success,
it
and
was.
and it definitely didn't kill the Mortal Kombat brand. I think if anything,
No.
it, like, revitalized it, and,
Oh,
like,
totally.
it I think the reason why people keep taking cracks at it today is because of the success of this film, as
Yeah.
weird and disjointed and bad as it is.
Yeah.
So y it's sort of hard to deny the cultural impact of the film. How about your
Totally.
subjective score?
My subjective score is a 6.5. There's still a lot of fun with this movie. I know it
Yeah.
sucks,
Yeah.
but like I like it. There's still, and that is like purely nostalgia
Yeah.
and like and appreciation. It's like 6 is the nostalgia. The 0.5 is the appreciation for the good fight scenes that are in it.
Yeah. I gave it a 3. Coming back to it,
You
I was
gave
just
it a
oh,
3.
yeah, I was just sorta like, "You know what?" I was
Oh
like,
wow.
I don't know, man. I was like, "This was a fun, nostalgic watch," but I just was like, I don't remember just how loosely ta
Yeah,
like, woven together this thing is, that
totally.
it's such a, like, nothing movie. Like,
It is.
it's about nothing. It's
Yep.
just like but in that way, it sort of is just the game. It's just sorta like, yeah, there's just, like, characters and a tournament, and they fight, and it's like, "Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, sure, alright." But, even the fight scenes, I was like, "Yeah, like, the first guy that Liu Kang fights, it's just like, they make, like, such a meal out of it. I'm like,
I
"Could this
know.
be somebody?
Yeah,
Could you
couldn't you get somebody to do this?
like, somebody from the game? Like, why is it
Yeah.
just, like, this random guy?" It's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, but whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I
It
don't
is
think
what
Paul
it is.
W.S. Anderson is a very good director,
I
and,
don't think he is either.
yeah,
I don't think he's particularly great.
yeah. Okay, that's Mortal Kombat 95. What do you guys think? Do you think it's a classic in its own right? Do you think that, I was being too harsh? What do you think about the new one in theaters right now, if you've gone and seen it? Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Next week, we are gonna be going to the theater and watching Obsession. I feel like this is gonna be a big one,
I
this
know,
year. I think a
yeah.
lot of people are gonna be talking about this. Curry
Yeah.
Barker's writer directorial debut. If you know Curry Barker from his career on the internet, he's a really funny guy. But
Oh, okay.
here we go in the tradition of Jordan Peele and Zach Kreger. We've got another internet comedian making a horror film that
Yeah.
apparently it's getting a lot of buzz. So
Yeah.
Obsession is up next if you want to watch along with the show, and we'll see you then.
Bye-bye.